Hello. Thank you very much, Lena, for the introduction and also for inviting Citibeats to this excited and insightful event. So I'm Laura Kirchner, Head of Social Insights at Citibeats, a startup that was founded by Ivan Caballero in Barcelona 2 years ago. And Citibeats helps more than 50 private, public, and organizations to understand what matters to people in real time so that they can react faster and more efficiently. And today I'm gonna explain you briefly like what do we do at Citibeats and how it can help cities in their decision-making process. So our mission is to help companies and governments to understand citizens' needs in real time. And actually, we aim to empower a responsive society by distilling people's opinion and making them measurable. Our values are based on curiosity, impact, and vision. So we believe in an interest in different topics and searching for innovative ways to expand our ideas and creativity to help us solve the current and most pressing challenges, and especially nowadays that we have a lot of challenges in many different dimensions. We also look for impact, that is to have a positive impact on millions of lives by actually raising the citizens' voice. And our future vision is a future in which the best decisions will be made by taking into account the needs of the citizens and not being overlooked. So how does Citibeats actually work? I'm going to give you a very brief explanation. So our input are the opinions of people posted online and available and in an unstructured text format. So some examples would be, for example, the citizens' feedback that we can give through an app that the City Council has set up for us to give feedback about the city where we find it's clean or it's too busy with tourists and so on. For example, we can also collect text from tourist reviews in pages like TripAdvisor or public comments in social networks that mention our city. Then once we have collected all this data, we run it through an artificial intelligence process, basically natural language processing, which is part of a machine learning algorithm, and that is designed to understand any type of text in any language. And as I will explain later, and picking up the privacy conversation before, we have made sure that these algorithms are ethical and that basically they are used for a social purpose as well. So once we've processed all the data, we structure this data and we produce insights or actionable information about the context that we are analyzing. The idea is that the information is structured in a series of indicators that will allow our client, like a city council, for example, to understand the citizen conversation and incorporate the citizens' feedback in their decision-making processes. And we provide this information through a dashboard, an API, reports, or even automatic alerts. So as I mentioned, ethics is very important for us, and we define our ethics in 3 pillars. The first of all is that privacy comes first. No matter what the objective is, there are some lines that should not be crossed. So even if we work towards a social impact, we make sure to turn private and sensitive text into aggregated and anonymized output. Then the second point is data representativity. There's a lot of conversations highlighting and warning about the potential bias of a non-representative sample. So that's why we take into account the difference in demographic characteristics of our samples to control for potential biases and make sure that we provide a full picture of citizens' feedback. And finally, we want that our technology is used for impact, for social impact. So we carefully select the projects and the clients we work on to make sure that the technology is properly implemented and the data is used for a social impact purpose. So, and how does this look in real life? So we have been working with Dublin City Council with their Smart Dublin agency. one of their purposes is to enhance citizen engagement, and that is putting citizens' voice at the center of the public decision making. And the challenge here was that so many smart cities have sensors to measure air contamination or traffic congestions, for example, but these sensors, they cannot tell us how the residents, how our citizens feel about those levels, right? Or what they think they should be done to address those levels, or how it compares to other topics. So the idea here is to use citizens as sensors to get their feelings and their feedback about what should be done in the city, or how would they like to see things, right? So Smart Dublin has been transforming this qualitative feedback from citizens into quantitative indicators to understand what are the top priorities of the citizens. For example, like the problems with homelessness, which is it's a thing in Dublin, and also the difficulties to access decent housing. The collected information then has been used tactically as an input for decision making in public policies. Another example, we've been working in Spain with Fundación 11. This is the largest and most important foundation in Spain for people with disabilities, all different types of disabilities. And so they work for social inclusion for these groups. And one of their tasks is to identify accessibility barriers and then support advocacy to overcome them. And the challenge here is that all too often, the voices of these vulnerable groups or people at risk of social exclusion are unheard or not taken into account when it comes to design new infrastructures. I mean, it is more and more, but maybe there are some things that we cannot see or we just don't take into account because we don't realize they are important. And together with Fundación 11, we developed a real-time accessibility map, that's how we call this, with the idea of identifying and synthesizing the most relevant complaints about accessibility barriers in the main cities of Spain. And the idea here is that these people, or even their closest their closest people as well, they act as sensors for these accessibility barriers, pointing them out so that we have this information and it can be taken into account when designing new infrastructures in the city, or also in the transport. There were a lot of barriers, etc. And finally, sorry, because I need to jump out of the presentation here. I wanted also to show you a recent project. We have been working with the World Health Organization, and we've set a pilot of an early AI-supported response system with social listening. So apart from the COVID pandemic, we are also suffering an infodemic pandemic. Which is like an overabundance of information, which make us difficult. It is difficult to follow the indications from the government. Also, it makes it more difficult for the government to manage the pandemic. So the purpose here is that the social listening platform aims to show a real-time information about how people are talking about COVID-19 online, so that we can better manage as the infodemic and the pandemic, right? This has been set for 20 countries and 4 languages, and we are monitoring more than 39 categories. And we have a panel to compare like how the different countries are evolving, if there are questions or complaints rising, so to help the different authorities fight this pandemic. Let's see if this loads. If it doesn't, just to say that this is what I wanted to tell you about Citibeats, and I'm happy to take questions later.